Hey there. I have a story to share with you today, and the name of my story is Buster. All right, let's read about Buster. I think you will really like this book. Buster was a happy dog. He had everything he could ever want. He had a dish with his name painted on it in curvy letters, and a large grassy yard with a tall oak tree to nap under. A sand pit for taking dirt baths, an in and out flap at the back door, a basket full of toys, a radio tuned to his favorite station, and brown shoes, who took Buster to the park whenever Buster asked. Buster was a happy dog until Brown Shoes brought home the big box. What do you think's in the big box? The big box. Buster stared at the big box. He hoped there were juicy steaks or fancy French cheeses or spicy sausages in the big box. What do you think? Do you notice anything about the big box? But there were no steaks, no cheeses, no sausages in the box. There was just a bag of sand, a large flat pan, two small dishes, and a cat named Betty. Buster was not happy. Buster was afraid of cats. Look at his face. He's afraid. Betty jumped down off the table. She began to purr and twist and turn around Buster's legs. Buster was terrified. He was afraid to move. If I ignore her, thought Buster, maybe she'll go away. Look at his face, his eye. Betty did everything to attract Buster's attention. She slept in Buster's dishes with the curvy letters. Buster ignored her. She ran up and down and around Buster's tree. Buster ignored her. She dug in Buster's sand pit. Buster ignored her. He's trying his best. She ran out and in out the in and out flap. Buster ignored her. She hid Buster's toys. Buster ignored her. Then she changed the station on Buster's radio. That was too much for Buster. Look at his face. A fine park. Buster slipped under the fence. He ran down the block over 5 streets and around the 2 corners until he came to a park. Not his usual park with tall trees, a bubbling fountain, tubs of flowers, large grassy patches, and not a cat in sight. No Betty, thought Buster as he drank from the fountain. No Betty, thought Buster as he rolled in the sand. No Betty, thought Buster as he listened to his favorite radio station. No Betty, thought Buster as he fell asleep in the shade of a tall tree. Lost. Buster woke up. He was hungry. He was lonely. Soon it would be dark. Buster was ready to go home. He looked up the street. He looked down the street. Nothing looked familiar. Buster circled the park to the left. He circled the park to the right. Buster had no idea which direction was home. Buster was lost. Buster asked the big yellow dog if he knew which way was home. He asked the tiny black dog if she knew which way was home. He asked the man sweeping the walks if he knew which way was home. No one in the park had any idea where Buster lived. Buster sat very still and tried to remember the route he had taken to the park. But he had been so busy trying to get away from Betty that he hadn't paid any attention. What's he going to do? Home. All Buster could think about was how he would never see his home, his dishes, his sand pit, his toys, his tree, or Brown Shoes again. What would he do? Where would he go? Just then a pigeon circled Buster and it landed close to Buster's ear. Coo, 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 said the pigeon, looking up. Buster looked up. Way up. In the top of a tall tree, several streets over, Buster saw a waving ball of white fur. The tree looked very familiar. The waving ball of fur looked very familiar. It was Betty. Buster ran out of the park, around 2 corners, over 5 streets, turned left, ran up the block, all the time keeping an eye on Betty. It's a good little map key right there. Buster slipped under the fence. Betty ran down the tree and over to Buster. Betty began to purr and twist and turn around Buster's legs. Buster is a happy dog. He had everything he could ever want, and more. The end. I don't know what Buster's going to think about that. All right, you have to let me know what you think about Buster.